we are consuming a lot of food and other resources, and as such, that must be paid as well. So your current consumption is
1.
One. Yep.
Income is
Consumption
2.
1, yes. And the raw amount of build points for earning from the marble quarry, I don't know when those are factored in, but that's 2.
All right. Which means that, step 2, pay for consumption. And if your consumption basically, well, if you have positive consumption, you subtract that from the treasury, so 1 BP gone from the treasury then.
Right.
That goes into paying for soldiers and
we're back
other
down to
stuff.
60.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fill vacant magic item slots. I think most of they are untouched since last time, I believe.
We don't have any vacant magic slots.
Yeah, exactly. Miku will inform you that that merchants are currently struggling selling the wares they have. There hasn't really been any large changes in the in the magic item economy, as it were. Something that he is keeping a close eye on, though.
Good. When does the income from improvements and such come in?
It's in the income phase.
In the income phase, which we're not in.
Yep. So step 4, modify on rest. Yes, if you have any kingdom attribute in the negative, that is economy, loyalty, or stability. Rest will increase, but you have.
We can also use the royal assassin Tarlin at this point to reduce unrest, which I don't think we do.
No, we should.
Right. You have kept Tarlin on a leash, as it were.
Well, I mean, he can go around being, training some assassins, but he can't begin killing dissenters yet.
Very well. Then sort of Miku settles down and looks over to let's see here. Well, to the rest of the council. As Tarlin smiles and says, "Well, I've been taking care of some of the slight issues with the economy." He sort of looks at the map of the Upper Asathere. It seems then to me, well, actually, he smiles. I have been with you, my lords of the family Vitharia, for quite some time, and I have, during that time, guessed of what your ultimate goal with this endeavor is. But perhaps for some of the others around the council, that might be an idea to enlighten us with. What do we aim to do? What is the ultimate goal, my lords?
Well, anyway, we'll look at him. Reveal for just a second. It's like confusion. She then looks at him and says, "Our goal, as of here, the council's goal, is to make this kingdom run as well as it possibly can. We are to expand, we are to grow, and we are to do so in such a way that we will rival Teresia itself. In time, we will return to Teresia triumphant, one way or another. Then the merciless throne shall be added to ours."
There's a slight stir around the table of this. Some of the other council members seems, somewhat ill at ease at this pronunciation, but they don't really say anything. Tarlin's smile widened at this point. You can see some of the sort of perfect white teeth he has. And he says, "Very well then, my lords. It seems to me that if we are to reach this grand endeavor, Vothus and Fastvolt are hardly enough. As the matron said, our intention is to grow." He looks at the map. "Then, my lords, I think it behooves us to consider this map carefully, and here and now decide exactly how we are going about this growth. Where should we extend our influence first?"
Well, anyway, he sort of looks to Brilliant. I suppose out of game that we have already sort of spoken a bit of this when we were back in Festival before actually taking Vothas, correct?
Yes. I suppose in this case, we're on step 2 of the edict phase.
Yeah. Assign leadership first of all. Well, you have just assembled the council, and unless you want to kick someone out,
No, I don't think so.
or assign in a new role at this point,
No.
then it is step 2: claim or abandon hexes. So basically, where do you want to send the meager troops you have at this point to try to secure land?
Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry. You want to take this one?
Sure. Rilnid will, most intelligently, he'll actually stand and on the opposite side of the wall, unfurl this absolutely gigantic map of, like, the fungal jungle he had commissioned. Make sure it's, like, attached and, like, a mage hand's holding it up. And then a gloved hand will sort of stand on tippy toes, and 2 fingers from that will jab at hexes 502 and 603. The tunnel hexes should be sufficient that we can claim both of these within a short amount of time. The patrols will not have to be so grand, for the land is not so vast. It is narrow and small. Progress must be made to reach the fungal jungle. Therefore, these 2 hexes must be taken first, and in future others will be taken until we reach the jungle.
Ordinary nods. We, as we saw earlier, have already somewhat discussed this, and it has been clear that the fungal jungle must have a drow presence for our new kingdom to grow. We need food for a higher population, and that can be gained by moving in to the jungle and irrigating it, making it suitable farmland.
There's a bit of a mumble going around. I think Gorval, with his ever-present scowl, looks around and says, Matron, do we have the necessary know-how for farming? The soldiers of Others have never farmed in their life, my lady, and the kobolds in the slave camp below, he shrugs. I don't think we could keep them under control very easily in such an open area. They are pesky little buggers that tend to escape.
That will be unnecessary, Gorval. Zvirf Neblin will be interested in either moving out of Fastervolt or out of their own pathetic lives along the Gnome King's highway, and the intrigue of settling somewhere else. Coupled that with our alliance with the Zan, who will teach us how to work the land, we will be capable of doing so. By the time that we actually reach there, it will be a year, at least, before we can make those plans come to fruition. That will be more than enough time to stabilize ourselves.
Larry nods, short-handed.
Gorval seems somewhat skeptical, but he doesn't say anything else, sort of leaning back in his chair.
You have your doubts, of course. Our reputation precedes us. That is why we will be different than the Merciless Throne, because the Merciless Throne, as well as our ancestors for the past thousands of years, would create an empire which would cause all others to turn against it. We do not have such luxury.
Gorval nods slowly. As you say, my lord, we are in a precarious situation. Although it is unheard of a drow kingdom to not extend the superiority of the race, I can see the prudence in such a course of action at this point. At this, there's a somewhat of a poisonous glare from Ivy at him.
That was really to be expected.
Yes.
Really, it's 2 best friends.
She seems, Rilnid, who has known Ivy for a while, gets the feeling that she's sort of sizing Gorval up, for...
You know,
basic-
that is perfectly fine. Really gets it.
She seems to have an expression on her face saying, I could take him.
You know, I don't doubt that either. Realden might be biased. So yes, for the purpose of claiming hexes, then hexes 502 and 603 will be the ones that are claimed, and 2 BP will be expended in this process, bringing us down to, for the time, 58.
58 it is.
Add these sexes to our map.
Yes, you may. To send out patrols to secure the tunnels.
Because they're tunnel tiles, we can claim twice as fast and spend twice as much money, yeah!
Hooray!
And clearly we have too much money anyways.
And the size, of course, increases.
Mm-hmm.
2,
Yep.
4.
To 4.
Do tunnel hexes count as one size? Couldn't they count as half a size?
No.
Oh.
I edited the size counter on the Kingdoms tab. And I'll edit it on the overall tab as well.
Wonderful.
Now the SRD here appears to skip a step 3 in the edict phase.
Yeah.
Step 1, step 2,
Step 2,
step 4.
Step 4.
It's like,
Actually, in the Ultimate Campaign book, it's also step 3. There's no step 3 in this.
so it's like step 3
Interesting.
question mark, step 4 profit.
Yes.
Interesting.
Step 3 might be like fight wars, but maybe that's in the war chapter or something.
Exactly. Shh. Don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that.
Then we move on to build terrain improvements. This is basically building farms, forts, roads, mines, and quarries.
This one's easy.
To ensure adequate transportation towards the fungal jungle, roads will be built in the newly claimed areas.
We have passed through these on numerous occasions, and while suitable for passage, the passages are obviously rough and numerous dips, difficult terrain. Only if we could climb, as the Skiswall do, would we have an easier time navigating it. As such, they must be smoothed over.
Do we have something we can use for showing terrain improvements?
Yeah, Jonas, you have little, like, tokens and shit we can, like, slap down for roads?
Sadly, I don't. What I suggest is you can put in like a token like the
These things.
yeah, something as similar
Have
to
those
that.
in another color?
Something like that
That's
to
fine.
and then basically edit and say roads in this hex, and you can add so many farms or quarries or whatever you have in the
Make
hex.
them red, perhaps. That seems to be...
Go ahead,
Right.
bump it down.
Okay. I will deduct the expense from building the roads. That brings us down to 56 BP.
Qual nods and says, "Yes, I have long suggested this to the former Baroness." He sort of looks disappointed. She never approved the expenditure, but the old caverns were dug out and constructed by Far Teresia once upon a time. If we restore them, he nods, the transportation would be much easier. I think it is a wise decision, my lords. I have, by the way, also in the past used like a black or sort of brown color to sort of delineate, paint out, draw out where roads are.
Delineate. That's fine.
Delineate, yeah.
And paint with like a grayish.
That would make it not so cluttered with with the
can do that.
terrain improvement tokens, because if you're probably going to build a lot of roads, right? So
What color do we want for them?
I don't know. You can always just test out a variety of samples. It's fine. We got plenty of time.
Gray doesn't look great.
yeah, and you need something. It should be something that is kind of visible, but probably don't dominate too much. I mean, you need to see your borders.
Black, I suppose, could work.
That's a bit
Work.
fake.
Might be
But,
weird in here.
But it's something we can worry about at some
Yeah.
point.
For now, we can use these.
Okie doke.
And then we can always change it.
Then we move on to the create and improve settlements, and here, Master Builder Sandor has a huge stack of things, and he looks very eager when he sort of grabs a few of them and says, "My lords, I have compiled a list of things I think should be prioritized when it comes to the building." And he puts in a few things. His mill happens to be one of the top things in the list. He smiles, a sort of toothy smile. "My lords are very wise and generous, of course. You also, I seem to recall, made a very solemn promise to yours truly." He smiles. "The mill, even though I would be quite happy to see it restored, it will also benefit the community."
Rilland nods, still standing by the map, and says, "Yes, the mill will be restored, as well as the destroyed houses located within northeastern Vasterwald."
Sandra nods. "Excellent, my lords."
Not the primary build project for this first turn. It is something which was discussed in the preliminary council meeting before you returned, and it is one which you might not see the initial wisdom of, given its long-term goals. However, it is going to be done, one way or the other. Roland sort of cracked his neck. It is necessary to attract a powerful and proper Zan, one who can serve effectively as an emissary to our allies, so we do not offend them in our weakened condition. It is also important to understand the jungle into which we are expanding. Otherwise, we will flail around uselessly and achieve little more than broken tools and starving mouths. Therefore, it is imperative to attract one of high caliber sufficiently, and as such, and then Roland begins this sort of basic description of this grandiose tower. The Caster's Tower. Yes. Pulling out another sheaf of paper, because he's a great engineer himself, pointing out various layers and purposes of the tower.
Culinary gives everyone a stern look to tell them that yes, this is what we're gonna do.
Sandor sort of blinks at this grand project, and he seems to want to say something while this explanation is going on.
Rilnit's tops comes to a halt. Silvestor Sandor and says, "I understand you have doubts. After all, a tower does not do wonders in immediately providing a projected benefit towards a community. It is no mill, it is no smith, it is no farm. However, it is essential, and the benefits will be seen long term."
Sort of scratches his head. "I suppose so, my lords." Looks at it. It is very expensive.
In later turns, in later months and years, we will have the luxury of building things that you understand better, which have a more immediate impact, Sandor. However, we are on, despite longevity, a time schedule.
He seems to slowly nod. "Well, if my lords insist that this is the way forward, then I suppose I will dedicate my efforts into such a construction.
Tower shall be built in Varthus proper. It belongs here among all the spires. However, your mill and the repaired houses, of course, shall be there where the others Virfneblin can appreciate what the rulership has done.
Sandra nods. He looks at all the sort of drawings of the tower itself and says, "It is very extravagant, my lords. Several levels, laboratories, instruments. No expenses spared, I see." He sort of, frowns upon it. Yes, I do hope that this will bear the fantastic fruits you perceive, my lords.
Well, there he smiles faintly at his wording.
Yes, and with that, that's subtracting 1 build point to repair the house in Faster Vault, 3 build points to repair the mill in Faster Vault, and 30 build points to begin construction of the caster tower in Voss.
All right. Yeah, let's see here. For the house, that is located in Festival. Put that there, and the mill. Let's see, I need to dig into my library here.
I suppose we will build the caster tower next to the watchtower. I think was the idea.
Yeah, that works just as well. I don't have a problem with that.
Second tower for Varthus.
So do we have 5 houses in Festival then?
Yeah, we do.
5. Okay.
When do we change the sort of? I suppose we do that when we've built them, right?
Yeah, when it's
Stats.
built. So during the next turn, you get the stat
Oh,
bonus.
next turn, okay.
Yeah, so we might as well change them now, right?
Yeah.
Don't change them now. Wait until next turn, because they might
Got-
add a bonus which should not exist.
That's true.
Okay. I didn't change them though.
When I suppose this one we should also talk about buying that lyre.
With the whole income thing, making withdrawals from the treasury.
Sure. All right.
And let's see, Caster's Tower. Go. What do you want the Caster's Tower here?
City layouts.
It's fine, somewhere in the same district as the watchtower. I don't think it matters.
Oh, the idea was next to.
Yeah.
Yeah, here.
That's sort of an extension of. Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
So we just put down these spires of towers coming up the main building.
It can sort of have a bridge to the watchtower.
Sure.
Helps to keep it separate from everything else in case something bad happens in an experiment down the road.
My lords, the abomination has escaped.
It's like a drawbridge from the watchtower. We can raise.
All right. Then let's see here. That is the 3 things you can do, right?
That's all we can do, I believe.
Yep.
There are the things
Right.
we can do.
Create army units. Does the general have any suggestions for creating an army at this point?
I've reviewed what supplies we have, and unfortunately, it really depends on a case of, because without any army, of course, if an attack comes, we have nothing to defend ourselves with. But unfortunately, an army is very pricey to maintain. So then,
Qual nods. Not to mention, my lord, it is a heavy required manpower, something that we honestly lack at this point.
yes. So for now, unless someone sees a desperate urge or an invading force, for now I don't believe we need to have one at the current moment. Though it's definitely something we should consider as time passes.
Yeah. Qual seems to nod.
I have some
Nico
notes.
certainly nods.
I have some notes here. I hand out some papers. It shows how much it would cost to hold a standing army. Which, for knowledge, a standing army of drow would raise consumption by 1 per turn, or if it's active in the field, it'll raise it by 4 per turn.
Miku looks very depressed at at the paper.
Oh, more numbers.
Rain looks around, seeing if anyone's got any comments they want to make.
Qual seems to agree with them. As does Tarlin, it seems.
Yeah, culinary notes. For now, I think the guard will be enough.
What do you say, matron?
Very well, then. Tarlin smiles. Then I suppose we could discuss the issue with edicts, my lord. The subjects of House of Tharia's rule is eager for some proclamations as what is to become of the state of affairs now that leadership has changed. He smiles. There are several issues here to discuss, I think.
Going into this, we already had like promotions and festivals set on like the token and one, and I think metagame-wise we wanted to keep it that way, along with taxation being light.
Yep.
Now just hammered that over Tarlin's head.
Blam!
That's right.
Miku, listens to the different explanations, and then he says, I do think that we should consider raising taxes, however. Our situation is precarious. The more we can focus on economy, the better our situation would be. He sort of looks down at all the papers.
There is nothing to squeeze from the dry fruit, which is the current situation of our, I would loosely call a barony, because it is certainly no kingdom. The Svirfneblin have little, and these drow have just as much here in Varthus. It would be imprudent to try to tax them further. We have enough at this time to ride out for a bit. I would wait until we further stabilize ourselves before considering raising taxes.
Culinary notes. As it is, keeping the realm stable is paramount.
What would be more prudent, however, is ensuring a diplomatic issue from Varthus, preferably to the Zan, in order to actually get a powerful and prominent member of the Zan community to aid us with our expansion. If one must first ask for it to be done. I can head this up myself. I have some familiarity with the alchemist, and more particularly the sage with whom I will communicate in this, to hopefully find a pupil of his, one with curiosity about the outside of the fungal jungle. It will take time and a little expense, but one which I feel will pay off adequately.
Miku looks over at Rilid. How much of an expense do you think you would need then, Rilid?
Rilid just sort of rolls his eyes, and he's not exactly for sure because it varies. Because the whole diplomatic edict section, I'll go ahead and copy that from the optional rules. Because apparently, in travel expenses and other expenses, it'll cost 1d4 build point.
Well, I suppose we put 4 at his disposal and he'll be frugal with it.
Yes. In which case...
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like, oh, well, the proper items will have to be shown deference due to our allies who assisted us with the drow gatehouse, which allowed us passage without being noticed. And then certainly gifts will have to be given to show that we are capable and are not some mewling weaklings that are... Really, it goes on with, and he's highly intelligent, there might be a little exorbitant, but it's important to show, like, a position of strength in order to, basically advance. Like, you said we started off in, like, this whole, like, embassy, like, unofficial embassy station.
Yeah.
We don't really have, like, a treaty or alliance, and so, it's going to be needed to establish a treaty of sorts.
Miku, listens to all this, and he looks very concerned. It is quite the expenditure, isn't it?
Of
Looks
course,
down.
I would certainly understand that one, given your ties to the Zan community, would understand this. Rilnid just sort of like stands like over the other end of the table with like his maps like behind on the wall, like looming.
Miku sort of squirms a bit in his chair and slowly nods.
Of course, it does not have to be done, but then the only other person who would be suitable for building the damn tower would be Bandaria.
So a slight motion around the table, I think.